Happy holidays, everybody, and welcome to Bengal Magazine. It's good to be back in the captain's chair, and thank you to everybody who's filled in. On today's show, we're going to talk women's basketball, and Sue Roarke will join us. Sue's bringing along Olivia Luciani. I love saying that name, Olivia. And then we're going to go on site to Buffalo Spine and Sports Medicine. We refer some of our student athletes to Dr. Cicchetti, so we'll go out to Buffalo Spine and Sports Medicine. Football takes over. Jerry Boyce joins us along with Kyle Hoppy, the quarterback from Orchard Park. I'm glad to say that. Gabby Mediak is here with Bengal Update, and of course the Tim Hortons Athlete of the Week. So let's take a quick break, but before we do, let's take five.
Hi, my name is Ryan Connor. I am a junior on the men's track and field team. My hometown is Syracuse, New York. My dream job is physical therapy. I started running track because it's a family sport, and the reason why I came to Buffalo State College is because the team atmosphere here is amazing. My favorite thing to do besides running track is going home and help coaching young athletes in track and field. The one professional athlete that I would like to practice with is Justin Gatlin. And for those who don't know who Justin Gatlin is, he is a USA Olympic track athlete.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to Bengal Magazine. We're joined now by Sue Roarke, head coach of women's basketball here at Buffalo State. And Sue's bringing along Olivia Luciani. Olivia. Coach, first time on the show. Give us a little preview of the team.
Yeah, we're very young this year. We have more new players than returners, and that's been the first time for a while that's been the case. So it's going to be a work in progress. Our big focus right now is just to work hard and practice every day and get a little bit better every day. And we know we're going to have some ups and downs, and staying together as a team and working through those and just progressing each day is what's going to be important for us.
Well, you talk about a young team, and I want to go back to last year, but you have lost a lot of points. Bianca Smiley and Stacey McElroy, that was 700 points that you had last year. Curious, how do you replace that? I mean, do you look to spread that out, or is there somebody that is going to take charge?
Yeah, we have to look at it as opportunities for our other players that are still with us. And we can't focus on last year. It's a whole new season. It's a whole different team. And basically, we have very few of our starters back as well from last season. So, we have some new opportunities for players to really grab hold on and take advantage of.
Well, one of those players is sitting right next to you. Olivia, how do you see the loss of those two players as it relates to you on the court?
I mean, I definitely feel like I have to step up and be more of a leader this year. Not just scoring points, but just making sure the team is cohesive and dishing out assists and whatnot. So, I mean, I don't think it's the points necessarily, but just being a leader in general.
So do you kind of sense that a little bit more on your shoulders as of last year you were a junior, but maybe not in the same role that you are this year?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I have a lot on my back.
Right.
But, yeah, I think we'll be good together. Like, we're working together. It's come a long way from preseason so far.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's going good.
It's come a long way. 4 games in, what have you learned so far about your team?
Yeah, I think, we started off really well. We won at the tip-off tournament, and we beat a pretty good Ohio Wesleyan team in the championship game of that tournament. So we were really pleased how we played the first weekend. And then we traveled to Cleveland to play at Baldwin Wallace in a tournament there, and we didn't have the same level of performance. So, and with the young team, that's going to happen. And I think it's about learning how to play on the road and how to stay focused. And also, I think we're starting to value practice more. We had our best week of practice this week, and that wasn't the case going into our travel weekend going to Cleveland. So I think now we're starting to compete better with ourselves, and that's what's going to make us better.
How does that work with you in the locker room and on the court, Olivia, being the senior and, as she said, such a young team? Do you sense that the practices are coming together and there's more and more, this is important to us to get better?
Yeah, like Coach said, this was our best week of practice, and we've gone through a lot of ups and downs with the new personalities and everything.
Sure.
And this week, I think we really started clicking together. So. Yeah, it's looking really good right now. You
were a little bit behind the 8 ball before the season started. The backcourt was kind of reshuffled a little bit. How is the backcourt right now?
Same thing. It's a work in progress,
okay.
And it's getting used to each other and making sure our turnovers we need to get that number down
okay.
for us to be successful. And we're doing a brand new offensive system, so it's
Really?
it's new to everyone, and it's about just learning and getting better with it.
Okay. Tell me about the new offense. What is the difference between last year and this year in a minute or so?
Yeah, it's called a read and react system, and it allows a lot more freedom on the player's behalf to kind of make adjustments to how the defense plays, different screens and different cuts and things. So it's not quite as structured. So
Okay.
And some of that is increasing their basketball IQ to how to read things with it. But I think it has a lot more movement, and so far I think the players seem to really enjoy it too.
Great. Are you set on your lineup right now, or is this still? I mean, and if not, how long do you think this will take before you have the rotation you're looking for?
Yeah, I think early on we went with experience a little bit. And now, as we get a couple games behind, under our belts and stuff, it starts becoming about performance. So, to say that our starters are going to be our starters all year, that's definitely not the case. It's about how do we perform and what's going to be the best five to get the job done.
Now, we all went through a little bit of a Snowvember, as they call it now, and how did that affect the team? Those days where it just, at Buffalo State, it seemed to be fine. Where I lived in Orchard Park, it was horrible. How did that affect the team?
I mean, like you said, it was fine here, but honestly, I think it was nice for our bodies to just have a break for a little bit. I know I had an issue with my foot, so it was good to stay off of it, but we came back and we were ready to play, so.
Well, it helped her, but I'm sure as a coach, you're kind of going, oh my gosh, we're reshuffling, we're canceling games, postponing them. How is it working for you, for the coach's perspective?
Yeah, it was definitely difficult. The first day we didn't do anything. The second day we just had a shoot around. Then we finally had a normal practice. And that was kind of going into that weekend and that we were traveling to Cleveland. So those games got moved. And
right.
So it's just constantly adjusting. But at the same time, you have to deal with adversity in some aspect during the season. So this has been a different year because of how late Thanksgiving is as well. So we've had a very choppy start. We've had a lot of times that we didn't have practice, or they go home and they're back, and then they go home and they're back.
That's
so
right.
Having to deal with that on top of having a young team, it's been a challenge.
I bet. Well, ladies, thanks very much for being on the show. Best of luck the rest of it. We'll have you back on in January. Let's take a quick break. We'll talk a little Buffalo Spine and Sports Medicine. But before we do, another Take 5.
Hi, I'm Brooke Krantz. I'm a freshman from the women's hockey team. My hometown is Manning, Alberta, Canada. I started playing my sport because my brothers always played and I like to compete with them. My favorite TV show would be Suits. My favorite pregame meal is spaghetti and meat sauce with chicken.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Bengal Magazine. We are on site now at Buffalo Spine and Sports Medicine, and Dr. Mike Cicchetti is with us, the partner at Buffalo Spine and Sports Medicine. And Mike, thanks very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure to be here.
You are associated with Buffalo State Athletics. We do refer some of our student athletes to you. How did that relationship start?
It began back in 2009 when I was actually in the training room quite often, and I met Sean Roberts, who's now the head trainer, and we've developed a good relationship and good rapport. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to see a lot of the athletes coming from Buff State for spine and for other injuries.
Fantastic. Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about lower back injuries. It's a common problem with not only our student athletes, but the weekend warrior. Tell me some common type injuries, lower back injuries that you see.
Well, low back pain in general is the second most common reason to visit a physician in general. It's so common. In student athletes, actually, besides the contusions or other trauma type of injuries that they face that the normal person does not face, the types of injuries are actually very common. In student athletes, they are putting their bodies through a number of different motions. They're lifting a lot of weight, they're banging bodies, doing a lot of repetitive bending and lifting. All of those things strain our lumbar discs and also the joints in the back of the spine.
Well, let's go into Mr. Spine here, and if you can
Here are the lumbar discs. You've got 5 of them in the lumbar spine, and then you've got paired facet joints on either side of the lumbar spine. So there's a total of 10 little joints. And then you've got the surrounding ligaments and soft tissues as well.
Is it the same for the weekend warrior, or are they a little different than a more tuned student athlete?
Well, what the tuned athlete may get away with is they have better conditioning of their core stabilizing muscles, and so they may be able to withstand higher force loads more than the everyday person can. But the types of injuries are still very similar. The most common injury in young people, and that we see in a healthy, everyday, athlete or the weekend warrior, is going to be a lumbar disc injury. Okay. So things that will
irritate. And again, show us that again.
These are the lumbar discs.
Okay.
In between each of the vertebral bodies is a lumbar disc.
Okay.
So the lumbar disc is a very common structure that's injured, usually with repetitive bending or lifting types of activities. So people who are shoveling snow, raking leaves, changing car tires.
That's me.
Yeah. Or if they sit for a long period of time. People who actually sit will increase their disc pressures in the lumbar spine up to 50% more than if they were standing. So people who sit for a living may have increased incidence of back pain and disc problems.
So the common problems, and if I'm hearing this, or the common causes would be not so much competition, but really warming up, stretching. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, so, well, that's one way to potentially prevent an injury, is to properly stretch, but not just stretch, but to make sure that the core is engaged. So whether or not you're competing in a sport or you're about to go shovel snow, you want to engage your core muscles. And you also want to make sure that you're using good lifting techniques before you go out and just start pushing heavy weight around. If you don't activate the muscles that stabilize your core, then you're going to be in trouble. Think of your spine as the center mast of a fishing, or as the center mast of a big circus tent.
Okay.
You have to have the guy wires going down in order to keep that stable. Otherwise, that center mast would collapse, right?
Right, correct.
If you have a stable mast, you can push and pull that mast, and it won't buckle. The muscles of our core are our abdominal muscles in the front, our obliques, our lumbar spine muscles, even our diaphragm and pelvic floor. If we've got good support, then we can do bending, lifting, twisting without injuring our spine and our lumbar discs.
So I'm living in Orchard Park. I just got through the snowstorm, and I can tell you how many times I shoveled, a lot. I probably never warmed up, and I probably should have stretched inside the house before I started picking up all that stuff.
And then doing some just basic exercises to activate those core muscles, so that you're tuned and primed before you go out and do something that's going to put your back at risk for injury.
Let me ask you this then. A student athlete, weekend warrior, diagnosis. We all tend to go on Google and, my back hurts, and punch it in and find out what happens. And yet, you're here because there are certain diagnoses that need a specialist, correct?
Yeah, so with a student athlete, it is somewhat sport specific. Obviously, the contact sports are going to have contusions and stuff like that. But one thing that we see in any sport that involves lumbar extension, so our volleyball players who are constantly reaching back to hit a ball, or our offensive linemen in football who are having to block people and they have to go into lumbar extension, they are at a higher risk for small stress fractures in the lumbar spine, which usually occur low down at a weak point in the spine. Okay? That syndrome is called spondylolysis, and it involves a stress fracture in that area. The stress fractures usually will develop when we're younger in age, because the spine is still maturing from the time that we're young until we're in our mid-20s. And so athletes are at a much higher risk to have these stress fractures, especially if they're involved in sports that have repetitive lumbar extension. And so I always have to be very careful not to miss this, because if I miss it, then those fractures are very tough to heal.
Sure.
And so those are one of the things that if we find them and it's a new injury that has the potential to heal, we have to rest the athlete.
Do we continue to compete? Do we continue to shovel? Do we continue to do the rakes when we feel something in the back here? Or do we stop and ask?
So most people, even if I do tell them to stop or that it's in their best interest to put the brakes on, they tend not to listen.
That's me,
for the most
again.
Part. And, I do believe that most people can work through back pain, including disc herniations. It is not uncommon to have an athlete or a person who comes to me who has back pain, who I diagnose with a disc herniation, who I allow to go back to their job or back to their sport. as long as they don't have any compromise of their neurologic function, so their strength or their sensation that that will compromise their function. Most people, as long as we can control their pain and teach them about proper mechanics, get better core stability, and show them ways to how to deal with their pain, they can function pretty well, and that includes playing sports. It's when the pain becomes unbearable, it starts to change how they are participating in their activity. Are they changing their gait? Are they changing the way they do things? Or are they having to take more medication? Those are the red flags that I usually look for that say, you know what, I got to pull you from your sport. I can't allow you to go back to work, or you really need to think twice about, going out and shoveling snow. Okay, things like that. So it's different for everybody.
About 30 seconds left in the segment. Piece of advice you can give the weekend warrior out there in terms of taking care of his or her back.
Sure. Back pain is so common that you shouldn't just get upset or run to the physician at every single time your back hurts. But if pain is severe or it's not getting better with just simple analgesics, things that are over the counter, ibuprofen, Advil, Tylenol, or if you're having weakness, sensory loss, pain going down the leg, those are the instances where you have to call a specialist. We need to see you in the office. Don't just think everything is a simple strain or sprain. Let us make a diagnosis.
Well, Mike, great information. And if you want more information at Buffalo Spine and Sports Medicine, please visit them at buffspine.com. That's BUFFSPINE.com. They have 4 great locations. You can also give them a call at 626-0093. That's Buffalo Spine and Sports Medicine. Dr. Cicchetti, thank you very much. Appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more Bengal Magazine. Stay with us.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Bengal Update. I'm Gabrielle Mediak here with the recap of news and a look at the upcoming events surrounding Buffalo State athletics. Well, postseason awards are in for the fall season, and the Bengals have collected their fair share of hardware. Football landed 11 players on the All-Empire 8 team, and junior linebacker Marcus Artis won the Conference Defensive Player of the Year. Mike Doherty, Rich Pete, Brandon Lathrop, Shaq Frederick, Mitch Thomas, Mark Montana, and Artis were all named to the first team. Ryan Carney, Des Howard, Anthony Sanders, and Sherman Nelson were selected for the second team. The Bengals were 8-3 this season, their first 8-win season since 1998, and they defeated Waynesburg State in the ECAC Southwest Bowl. Women's soccer placed 2 players on the SUNYAC All-Conference teams. Gabriana Voldinsky earned second-team honors, and Victoria Coletti was named to the third team. The Bengals advanced to the conference semifinals for the 3rd consecutive year in the past 5 years. Men's soccer saw 2 players earn postseason honors. Francesco Cardillo and Joe Vicic were named to the second team. The Bengals, featuring 12 freshmen, finished the season strong, going 4-1-1 over the final 6 games. For the 3rd consecutive volleyball season, Sam Parente was named to first team All-Conference. The senior has been one of the most dominant outside hitters in the conference the past 4 seasons, and was among the league leaders this season in kills with 374. Parente, named the school's volleyball first All-American, was instrumental in leading the Bengals to their most successful 4-year stretch yet. Basketball returns home tomorrow, December 13th, when the men take on St. John Fisher at 2 p.m., followed by the women's game at 4 against RIT. Men's hockey is also home on December 13th, taking on Johnson and Wales at 4 p.m. Wishing everyone a happy holiday, I'm Gabrielle Mediak for Bengal Magazine. Tom?
Well, thank you, Gabby, and happy holidays to you as well. And it's time now to send congratulations out to Justine Silva, the goaltender for women's hockey. She is this week's Tim Hortons Athlete of the Week. The freshman posted a .946 save percentage and a 1.41 goals against average. She appeared in a pair of games at Franklin Pierce over the Thanksgiving weekend, and included in that was a 29 save outing in a 1-1 tie against the Ravens. You might be interested to know that Justine is a forensic chemistry major, and interestingly, she's from El Monte, California, and came to Buffalo State via the Anaheim Lady Ducks. So congratulations to Justine Silva, this week's Tim Hortons Athlete of the Week. And speaking of athletes, we're joined now by Kyle Hoppy, the quarterback for the Bengals, and Jerry Boyce, head football coach for Buffalo State. And guys, first of all, congratulations on an absolutely tremendous year. 8-win season, ECAC Bowl champions. first 8-win season in 15, 16 years since 1998. So my question to you, Mr. Athletic Director and football coach, is Buffalo State football back?
Well, Tom, time has to pass a little bit
Okay.
before we can say a definitive yes. I like to think so. There's been a lot of parallels of where this program has come in the last 5 years to where we started back in 1986. But tradition is something that comes over a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So what's very important is that we follow this up. And I'm going to say it's follow it up by about 3 or 4 years.
Okay. You listening, Kyle?
Yeah, one season does not define a program.
Right.
You can't use the word tradition until you're really 5, 6 years into that winning aspect. So, but I am so extremely proud of where this team in particular has brought this program.
Do you feel like a sense of pride knowing that you're part of this elevation of this program?
Definitely. Knowing that it's the first 8-win season in 16 years and the first bowl game since 2000, it's
That's
just
right.
It's a great accomplishment with me and the guys that we feel that we brought something to the school that hasn't been here in a long time.
That's right.
It just definitely motivates us to continue on this and try and make it a tradition.
Well, let's start training camp right now. That's what it sounds like. Holy smokes! But let's reflect a little bit. How did this happen? How did 8 wins happen? I mean, when you look back on the season, both of you, I mean, what came together? Was there a particular area or thought or philosophy? I'm sure you've thought about the season, Jer. What's your opinion on that?
Well, it kind of evolved, I think, Tom. Any season really is the accumulation of time. We'll start this next season, in effect, in January.
Okay.
And now we watch a whole new team, really. There's going to be a lot of things that we've got to emphasize, you might say, because Tom, and Kyle knows this, we've talked about it at our end of the season meeting, the lessons learned.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of talked about that in particular after the St. John Fisher game. What have we taken here? And it wasn't necessarily the St. John Fisher game, but the real lessons came from the Utica game, I believe.
There you go.
And to the credit, Kyle and this group of guys applied those lessons during the last 2 weeks of the season and ended up with a real feel-good situation, you might say. So there's a lot of little things that go into it. And in football, you have to sweat the details. The little things eventually define the greater good, you might say.
Well, sorry to interrupt you. Let me ask Kyle, coming off your answer, the Utica game came off a terrific win over nationally ranked Ithaca, at Ithaca. This guy's alma mater, by the way. I bet you he was happy about that. And then a loss to Utica at home. That had to be deflating. And then obviously the big game at St. John Fisher, which didn't go our way. And yet there was this persistence, how did that could have been very deflating for this team.
Yeah, I think we realized that we approached the Utica game the wrong way. We kind of got complacent with the way we were playing, and it seems like we lost focus a little bit.
Okay.
But I feel after that game, it was kind of a slap in the face and just told us that we're a lot better team than this, and we can't take any opponent lightly. Everyone in our division and that we play in our conference is a good team, and as it was shown this year, everyone beat everyone. There wasn't a bottom of the barrel team, and there wasn't a team all the way up top. Everyone was in the same category. So that was a big thing for us to see that we have to take every opponent seriously and come out 100% every time.
Yeah. You individually, you reflect back on your season. How'd it go?
Obviously some ups and downs, but overall at the end, we won a bowl game, so that's
there you go.
Successful there. And just like Coach said, you have to learn from our mistakes and not let history repeat itself and some of the mistakes that were made this year, and just learn from those experiences.
Well, gentlemen, again, congratulations on an absolutely terrific season, and best of luck recruiting, Coach, and let's keep it going.
Thanks, Tom.
That's going to wrap it up for this edition of Bengal Magazine. I want to wish everybody a happy holiday, especially the folks here in Instructional Resources, and we'll see you again in January for more Bengal Magazine. Happy holidays, everybody.